Hey, everybody, welcome to this brief impromptu live stream on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube for World Mental Health Day. I will start by saying what I'm sure everyone would expect someone like me to say as a resilience and well-being trainer and speaker, that mental health should be a focus every day, but it is good that we have a day that everyone is paying more attention to it, speaking about it, raising awareness, focusing on it, sharing about it, learning, and sharing our own experiences, thoughts, lessons, tools, techniques with each other. Because the fact is, mental health is at an all-time low. We know that, particularly in the developed world, we are suffering and struggling to the nth degree, probably greater than we can ever have imagined, even though we have everything. In the modern world, it's very interesting to observe the fact that we have all the luxuries and the abundance and everything's pretty good, really, but we are struggling mentally more than ever. And there's a number of reasons for this, but the message today, I mean, I could talk about this for hours probably, but I just want to keep this fairly short. And the message today is that it's okay to not be okay. So for World Mental Health Day and every day, I'd love for you to take that message home with you and carry it within your heart each day, that it's okay to not be okay. And I speak on this from the experience of never allowing myself to not be okay and struggling when I'm not okay. So, firstly, I'm not okay. And then I'm not okay about not being okay, which gives me a double whammy of not okayness because we have so much resistance to the negative aspects of life, of our negative emotions, of our pains and our struggles. And that is understandable because pain, if you had pain in your body, it signifies that something's wrong and that something needs to be looked at. And so we want to resolve that. So the same can go for emotional pain and mental struggles and pains that we may be having, is that it's a warning sign to say, well, something is wrong, and I need to look at that. But what it actually causes, and the way the modern world is currently teaching and structuring our thoughts, it makes us think that not being okay is wrong, is bad, that you are somehow broken, and that there's something in you that needs fixing. And when we approach our negative thoughts and feelings and experiences and struggles in that way, we only make it worse. There's a lot out there at the moment on toxic positivity. There's a lot still in the mainstream personal development world that tells us, so we should be happy all the time. We can be blissful and happy and free and joyful all the time and nothing affects us. This is a nonsense. This is delusion. This is a lie that is being taught out there because that kind of fun stuff sells, right? No one wants to look at the darkness, but the fact is darkness is a part of light. The part of life, sorry, the shadow that we experience is a part of life. Negative emotions are natural. Negative experiences and emotions are part of being a human being. It doesn't mean that you're wrong, that you're broken, that you need fixing. It means you're a human being going through life. And everybody is experiencing parts and periods of their life where they are not okay. It can be hard to remember that because you go on social media and everyone looks so happy and glossy and great and joyful. And they don't show you that they might actually be struggling in that moment or the day before. So we see this illusion, the positivity, happiness, joy, constant glee is what we should be aiming for and what life should be about. And this is a complete delusion because sadness, anxiety, depression, grief, shame, fear, worries, these are all also parts of the human experience. And just because someone doesn't say that they're experiencing it, it doesn't mean that they're not experiencing it. Just because someone may not be aware that they're experiencing it, it doesn't mean that they're not experiencing it. I remember a while ago, I only realized recently that I was living in chronic anxiety. So we have a term which is like high functioning. So you're a high functioning depressive or a high functioning anxious person, which means on the surface, I'm going about my business. I'm getting stuff done. I'm sitting here doing my thing. It looks fine. But inside, I am suffering. And I am going at a million miles an hour with worries and tensions and anxiety. And I'm carrying that with me all day, every day. And so often we don't even realize that's what's happening to us because it's become normalized. And so our new baseline is just to walk around, feeling anxious and not realizing that it's actually what's going on. So a lot of people don't realize that they're not okay. And we're so busy and rushing around in our lives, we don't often take the time to reflect and look upon ourselves and say, well, actually, what is going on for me? And also, it's almost like we glamorize it, right? Is to be really stressed and to be pushing hard and to be stressed and worrying and trying to make things better. And it's kind of glamorized, like this is the way we should be. We shouldn't. It's absolute nonsense. I think it's absolute nonsense. It's very, very distressing and destructive. So if you are struggling in the modern world, it's okay to not be okay. That's really the simplicity of this message. Okay, today is really, if you can just take a moment to settle into yourself. I like to close my eyes when I do this kind of work. Settle into yourself. And if you're not okay, in whatever way that shows up for you, instead of resisting it, fighting it, thinking it's wrong, thinking you're broken, thinking you're doing something wrong, can you just allow the experience of not feeling okay right now? Can you allow yourself to be a human being and experience the plethora of emotions that we will naturally experience as humans? If you were always happy all the time, I think there was something wrong with you, to be honest. I don't think it's possible. We hear teachings out there of, go into a state of bliss and be happy all the time and be joyful all the time. I don't know if that's true or possible because I haven't experienced it. And I like to speak from my own experience. I do have moments of wonderful bliss and joy, but my life is a roller coaster. My emotions are up and down, up and down. Sometimes I'm very anxious and distressed and sad and miserable. And sometimes I don't even know why. Sometimes not being okay isn't even about my mental state. It could be physical. It could be hormones. It could be changes that your body is going through as a woman, particularly at certain ages and times in life. It could be that you didn't get enough sleep. Your body hasn't got nourishment. Physical health is mental health. So it could be all these other things that are going on that are causing us to struggle mentally and emotionally. And it's all okay. What we resist persists. If we have this idea that I must not feel pain, I must not suffer, I must not struggle mentally and emotionally, we only give power to that. We only make it stronger. So it's really important, I feel, and this is something I'm always learning to do in my own life, is to realize it's okay to not be okay. You're not broken. You don't need fixing. You're a human being, and you will experience all of these aspects of the human experience, which includes what we call negative emotions and struggles. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional, but pain is inevitable. We suffer when we resist the initial pain, the inevitable pain, and we want it to go away and we fight it and we make it wrong and we think we're bad and broken and blah, blah, blah. That's when we start to suffer. If you can just be okay with not being okay in this moment and don't make a story about it, don't make meaning about it, just acknowledge and accept that that's what's going on in your being right now and in your energy right now, then you will reduce a massive amount of suffering that you will otherwise go through if you keep resisting your current experience and your current reality. You can't go through life and be okay all the time. What if something, God forbid, happens to someone you really, really love? Something bad happens. Are you just going to be like, well, I'm okay. I'm happy and fine, blissful all the time? That's a nonsense. I'd expect you to not be okay. And even in those scenarios, we can beat ourselves up and say, oh no, I should be better. I should be more happy. I should be positive about this. No, if something really difficult is happening, you can feel bad. That's a normal reaction. It's healthy to have that reaction and acknowledge that and allow yourself to experience that instead of making it wrong and saying I should be happy, positive all the time. So it's okay to not be okay. You don't need to make meaning out of it, stories out of it. You're a human being. This is what happens to us. We're all going through it. We have a fear of talking about it, sharing about it, being honest about it. But I think it would be good to change that fear and to allow ourselves to express what we're really experiencing and feeling and not be ashamed about it, not feel worried about it. Have those conversations with our friends, with our families, in our workplaces that I am not okay. And that is okay. So have a think about where you can allow yourself, accept yourself. Acceptance, that's what it is. Acceptance of whatever is going on in you right now. Acceptance of whatever mental health struggles you may be having right now. Because it's the resistance that makes it worse. So that's really my short, sweet, simple message for today. We see this quote. I've seen it going around a lot. It's okay to not be okay. And it's like, it's really simple. And I think we can gloss over it. Oh, yeah, it's okay to not be okay. But no, I want you to really get that. It is actually okay. And like I say, this is a lesson that I'm living and learning in my life all the time, because when I'm not okay, I fight it. I expect myself to be 100% every day, 100% on my game, positive, inspired, functioning, energized, all of that. I expect it every day. And it's just not possible. Sometimes I'm at 10%. Sometimes I'm at 50%. Sometimes I'm at 70. Then I'm 100. Then I'm back to 10. That's just life. At least it is for me. And the more I allow myself to ride those waves with ease and grace and flow, as opposed to resistance and pushing and forcing what I don't want, the more life becomes more ease and grace and flow. So it's okay to experience whatever you're experiencing. I was going to talk a little bit about this idea. I may just go into it a little bit here about this idea that we are broken if you're struggling, if you've got anxiety, depression. There'll be obviously clinical psychological disorders as well. And we can often see those as meaning that we're broken in some way. We're defective in some way. And I'd like to offer up to you a new perspective, which is that you are a product of your environment, particularly your childhood, and you did not choose that. So if as an adult you are struggling, what you're struggling with was created in your childhood experience, your caregivers, your experiences, your relationships, how you were treated, where you grew up, what was going on around you. That shaped you. It shaped your psychology. It shaped your physicality. It shaped your ability to regulate or not regulate your own emotions. It shaped the way you perceive yourself in the world. It shaped your insecurities. It shaped the way that you handle stress, the way you process it. It shaped your brain physically, your processing, your beliefs. That all happened in the first few years of your life. You may have had trauma. A lot of people have adverse childhood experiences. You can Google those. Various forms of abuse, divorce of parents, mental illness in the home, addictions in the home. There are many things that we call adverse childhood experiences which will affect your adult ability to be mentally well and healthy. But you didn't choose those experiences. You were just born and you were put into what environment you were put into. And then your consciousness and your mind and your body did whatever it could to handle that. And it got imprinted upon. It happens to all of us. So it's not your fault. You're not broken. You're just a product of whatever you experienced. And now you're dealing with it. And then look at the world around us. Constant negative news, fear, problems, economy, money, stress, governments, wars, giving us more and more distress, more and more things to be worried about. So we live in a world that kind of promotes mental distress. And then we say, let's have a World Mental Health Day because we should all have a universal right to be mentally well. whilst that same world is saying, here's all the reasons why you shouldn't be well. Here's plenty of reasons to worry and stress and be upset and be, even suicidal because of the stresses of modern life and the things we have to navigate. So it's not your fault. You're not broken. You live in a very tumultuous environment. But what we don't want to do is turn that into victim mentality, where we then go, well, then I can't do anything about it because I just live in this environment and I was traumatized when I was a kid. And so now I'm just dealing with anxiety every day and blah, blah, blah. We don't want to do that either. We want to acknowledge the causes and the structures that created our current experience and our current level of mental health. And then we want to realize that the only thing we really have the ability to affect and influence and improve upon is ourselves. I can't stop all that stuff out there that's giving me more stress, but I can choose not to watch the news and think about it all day long. I can't change my past and my childhood traumas, but I can choose to seek out help to work and develop and heal on my own self. So it's not about being a victim and saying, well, I'm a mess and I'm struggling mentally because of the world, but we have to acknowledge what the world is doing because it's doing a lot that's not helpful. It's not about being a victim, but it is about acknowledging it and then choosing to take your own life into your own hands and do the best that you can to nourish and nurture yourself, to heal, grow, and develop yourself and your own consciousness, which is absolutely possible if you want to do the work. But don't make it wrong. Whatever you're experiencing, don't make it wrong. Don't make it bad. Don't think you're broken. You're a human going through life. All experiences are okay. It's not good, bad, better, worse. It just is. And everybody is experiencing some levels of pain and suffering, whether they realize it or not, whether they talk about it or not, whether they show it to you or not. We're all going through this sort of stuff. And maybe you would be the one, if it feels true for you, to be a little bit more open about that. Because when we open that door of vulnerability in ourselves, we open it for other people as well. And sometimes, often what we need to improve our own mental state and our own emotional state is simply to be seen and heard for what we're going through, without judgment, without being seen as broken or wrong or dysfunctional and needing to be fixed. It's just, this is what I'm experiencing right now, and it's okay. Sometimes that's all we need. Most of us are carrying this inside, hiding it in ourselves and not telling anybody about it. And believe me, I think that makes it a million times worse. So if we can open up and provide those spaces for others to express how we're feeling, don't be afraid of the darkness. It is part of us. Don't be afraid of the pain. It is part of us. Can you sit with your own pain? Can you hold space with and sit with other people's pains? That is a great gift that you can give to yourself and others. Stop running away, stop fighting, stop resisting, and just allow yourself to experience whatever's going on, however icky and horrible it may feel. And realize that you can actually do a lot more than you may know to help yourself. And often it might not even be that complicated. We think that if we're struggling mentally, I need 10 years of therapy, I need an ample amount of pills and medications, I need to struggle and suffer through to my own healing. Now, I'm not saying you don't need therapy or you don't need pills and medications, but many of the things that we suffer with on a day-to-day basis can actually be alleviated quite simply, often with basics. I'll give you a couple of examples from my life. I had times where I was feeling so mentally low and emotionally low. I was feeling just empty, hollow. I didn't even know why. And I was trying to figure it out. And I was really, really struggling. And it went on for a good couple of weeks. And then I had a light bulb moment from my own inner wisdom, which will always give you your answers, by the way, because you are your own guru. If you allow your space to open up and receive your own intuitive wisdom, I got the insight that I need to have a proper sleep at night. So what I've been doing for weeks was going to bed really late, scrolling through my phone late at night, blue screen, looking at junk, addictive scrolling through absolute junk, then going to bed really late, not being able to get a good sleep because my brain was all wired and fired up from what I'd been looking at on the screen, and my eyes were all shaky from the blue light. And then I had a really bad sleep. And then I would repeat this day after day after day after day. And one day, and then I'm feeling awful during the day, mentally, emotionally. And then I just thought to myself, okay, tonight, put your phone down, go to bed early, no phones at night, and have a really good sleep. And I did that. And I kid you not, I woke up the next day feeling amazing from this one simple thing. Another simple thing: do you snooze your alarm in the morning? I used to do that. It sends your brain back into a sleep cycle, and then you wake up groggy, and then you feel like rubbish, and then you can't focus, and then you beat yourself up for not being as productive, and blah, 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 and you get into a vicious cycle. All because you snoozed your alarm in the morning and went back to sleep when your brain was starting to wake up. It's biological. That's what's causing it. Think about your diet. Food is mood. Gut health is very linked to mental health. Maybe it's things like that that can be worked on. These are simple daily tweaks in our lives, simple improvements that we can make that can have a massive effect on our mental health. It doesn't need to be a huge, complex thing that you're battling and grappling with. Another one for me was I started getting anxiety on the tube many, many years ago when I was going to London every day. And I would get on the tube and it would be so rammed and packed. And suddenly, I never had this before, suddenly I just started getting really panicky. I think it was the claustrophobia, the adrenaline and stress running through my body every day from all the work, and just because I have constant anxiety. And suddenly something just broke. And I was like, I was on this train and I was suffering. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to faint. I don't know. I've got to get off this train. I can't be here. I felt terrified. And I thought to myself, I'm not having this. I've got enough issues as it is. I've got to go on the tube every day. So I'm not going to have panic attacks every day on the tube. I'm not doing it. So I chose, with all the knowledge that I know from many years of self-development and research and learning in the field of human development, what feels true for me to do to help myself. And it was deep breathing. So next time I would go on the tube, because I had to go to work, I'd put music in my ears, I'd close my eyes, shut off everyone around me, put on meditation music, and just breathe slowly, just slow, calming, regulating my own nervous system. That's what we have to learn how to do, learn how to regulate ourselves. And I did that for a few days and the problem went away. So I didn't need 10 weeks of therapy. I just needed self-awareness, presence in my own body and being, to see what wisdom comes through about what would help me. And then I acted on it. And it was simple. If I eat junky foods, too many in 2 days, many days in a row, because gut health affects mental health, I feel rubbish. I feel lethargic. I feel anxious. If I drink and I have a hangover, often I get anxiety in my hangover, as many people do. That's not because I've got mental issues and blah, blah. It's because my physical body is not in an optimal state. So simple tweaks and changes that can have a massive impact on our mental health. And these are the things I wish we were taught at school. I don't know if they teach it now. If you're a teacher, tell me, do they teach this stuff at school? But these are the things that we can learn now. Basics, fundamentals of health and well-being, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Prioritize that and start to implement. Because at the moment, many of us are rushing to the doctors who already do not have capacity to help us, which is very unfortunate, but it is what it is. So it's even more important that we take self-responsibility and do things in our daily lives, because the power is with you in many cases to make drastic improvements in your own mental and emotional health and well-being in your daily habits and daily practices and daily life. You don't need necessarily to go to the doctor or wait till it gets so bad that you have to go to the doctor. And unfortunately, the doctors don't have time and space to see us anyway right now. And we're just putting more and more pressure on them. They're suffering. They're suffering mental health issues. They're leaving their jobs because they can't handle the demand and the pressures. So we're all going through it. And it's okay to not be okay. Stop resisting. It is where we are at. It is what we are experiencing. But off of that bed of acceptance comes the opportunity to change and grow. If you keep resisting it, you cannot affect it. You have to welcome it in, allow it in, and then you can work with it. In alchemy, we talk about in consciousness, we're turning lead to gold. And this process means you've got to look at the lead and transmute it to gold. You can't have the gold without the lead being the darkness, the struggles, and whatever else. You need that to create gold. It's your raw materials. But if you don't want to look at the raw materials, you're making them wrong. You're making it bad. You're saying, I shouldn't be that. I shouldn't feel that. I shouldn't struggle. You can never get to the gold on the other side. So accept the lead, welcome it in, even if it feels awful, as your raw material from which you will build your new self, your more healthy self, your more abundant, flourishing self, your happier self, your more vibrant self, whatever it is you want to be. But you can't get the gold without the lead. You can't get it without the raw materials. So you've got to look at them and stop resisting and making them wrong. Be aware, journal about it, have therapy if you want, have coaching, speak about what's going on. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So until you make that unconscious stuff, which is what's causing your mental health challenges in most cases, until you bring it into light and make it conscious, it will keep directing your life experience. And you'll say, well, this is just what it is for me. This is just fate. This is just what I'm destined to experience, suffering and struggle. That's not true. If you're willing to make the unconscious conscious, bring it out of the darkness, shine a light on it, then it will start to dissipate. And then you can work with it to create the new version of you, to transform yourself. You are not bricks and mortar. You are fluid, flexible, ever-changing consciousness and energy. So where you are right now is not where you always have to be. It's not where you always will be if you choose to work with that and change and grow consciously. There are always new possibilities available for you. I've seen the most down and out people recover and become amazing and have amazing lives. So wherever you are now doesn't really mean anything other than you had a pattern from the past that's creating where you are now, and that's that. But you can move forward, you can change. But you first have to accept where you are currently and realize that it's okay to not be okay. As usual, my short live stream has gone on a little bit longer, so I'm going to leave it there. But it's just something for you to think about on World Mental Health Day. They say that mental health is a universal right. I saw someone, I can't remember who it was, but he referred, it might have been Simon Sinek, but I could be wrong. He said he doesn't talk about mental health, he talks about mental fitness. And I quite like that. I think it's quite a nice phrase, mental fitness. And sometimes we're a little less fit and sometimes we're more fit. I feel like that's a lot more engaging for me in terms of terminology of how we talk about mental health. It's fitness, you know. And as we say, it's a universal right. That's interesting in itself. You know, it's a right. It's a right, but you have to take it. It doesn't just get given to you. It should be given to us more in terms of society, family, growing up, the structures we're creating in society that are causing us mental health problems. But at the same time, you have to take it. You have to take that right, use your right. In the same way you use your right to vote, use your right to good mental health by making decisions in your life that benefit you, by saying no to things that are distressing you out, by not having relationships with people that are harming you, by choosing what's best for you, by taking care of yourself. That's your right, but you have to take it. You have to act on it. So look, I'm going on rambles in all sorts of directions, which I knew would happen because this is a huge topic, you know, huge topic, multifaceted, multidimensional, from the individual to the group to society to the massive whole. Mental health is all running through all of that, affecting each other. And so, and then there's a mind, body, soul, spirit, everything is, there's very many dimensions to mental health, mental fitness, whatever we might want to call it. But I will just reiterate my one key thought for today, which is that it's okay to not be okay. So let yourself off the hook. Stop making yourself wrong. Stop resisting. Stop beating yourself up. Stop thinking that you're broken. You're not. And it's okay. Can you learn to just accept where you are currently and know that it doesn't mean that's where you're going to be forever? It's just a moment in time, and learn to be okay with where you are at. And from there, you will now have the power to move forward in whatever way is true for you. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that gives you something to think about today. Do take care of your mental health. Do take care of all of your health, and take care of other people too. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. I'll speak to you soon. Goodbye.